following is a presentation of the Healthcare Facilities.
Peter Martin, President of Gosselin Martin Associates, and welcome to San Antonio for the ASHE 2023 Annual. This is the conclusion of day one of the conference, and I had really hoped to film this particular video outside, but that's not going to happen. For this person from the north, it is very hot in San Antonio. 105 Saturday, 104 Sunday, another over 100 degrees today, so actually filming it in my hotel room, and probably the only indication that you would have that I'm even in Texas would be the picture behind me, which if you can't see it, it's boots. But also what I've done, you will see throughout this video, I toured San Antonio early in the morning to get some video before it warmed up and before people came up. Very nice city along the river walk, which you will see interspersed throughout this video. Day one of the conference went well. We have a booth 438, so I think we'll get this out tonight. Hopefully I can finish it up so that if you are still at the annual and you want to stop by our booth tomorrow, Tuesday, we are at 438. But one of the questions and one of the reasons that I want to do this video is a number of people came up to me, and it's a question that I heard a couple of times relative to the recruiting services that we provide at Gosselin Martin Associates in addition to the Healthcare Facilities Network. And the question we get, are you still recruiting? And the answer to that is, it is. Now, we have not done a lot of it lately, which is accurate, but I think as I've said throughout this network, we've been doing podcasting, we've been doing the Healthcare Facilities Network, we've been focusing on these things because, to be quite honest, there's an issue with people in this field and getting people into this field, and while it's great to be at the ASHE Annual and they do a great job, again, we say it all the time, there's a lot of gray hair here, which we need to counter. It's great to see young faces as well, but we need to do more along those lines. But I wanted to have this video at least address that question. Are you still recruiting? And I would say from our perspective, and I'm going to point to a couple of stories in just a second, but we are here and we are invested in healthcare facilities management. I don't know that you'll see any other recruiters who are here at the ASHE Annual, who have a booth at the ASHE Annual, and who are as connected with healthcare facilities management as we are. That said, the market is changing. I did a video, released it maybe a week ago now. It was about 2023 and the state of healthcare facilities management. I will link to it at the end of this video, and I'm certainly not going to repeat what I said on that, but I would just bring to your attention. So if you are an organization or if you are a candidate, I think these next couple of stories may resonate. As we've said a number of times, the market is changing, and there's specific stories that I can point to where the recruiting aspect, and I think we need to do recruiting, and when I say we, not just Gosselin Martin Associates, but organizations. And at Gosselin Martin Associates and the Healthcare Facilities Network, we do want to do recruiting a little bit differently. I think it needs to be a little more relationship-based, but we hear stories from the employee side and from the candidate side all the time. I got a call last week from a gentleman. He's been on the job less than 10 months, and he wants to leave. He's a director, and he wants to leave for a number of reasons, and wants to get out of there now. And I'll be honest, that is not atypical these days. On another candidate's side, he called me 2 weeks ago. The organization that he's working for had promised him a couple of things. He's been there probably 5 months now. And so these stories that I give, they're real stories, and they're not always through our recruitments. We talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people will call. But this particular gentleman was promised a number of different things along the bonus line, was promised a couple of different things around the creation of the department, and the organization is not fulfilling their promises to him, and he's frustrated, and he wants to leave. I saw a young gentleman this morning here at the ASHE Annual, and he talked to me, and we covered this in some of our generations classes, but he said, if the organization, the younger generation, they have expectations of the organization. He said to me, if things don't change, then I'm prepared to move on. And a lot of younger folks have that mindset, and I think organizations have to adjust to that. Talk to another gentleman. He's working for an organization, and the person he reports to only wants him to communicate via text. And so that's an interesting one. I could not work in an organization like that. Maybe it's because I'm old, but facilities management, directing a facility requires more than texting. We have, just a last story, and I could go on and on, but we had an organization that called us and they wanted us to help them recruit. They had a director. They talked to him on Friday afternoon. Things appeared to be going well. And when the person that the director reported to came in on Monday morning, the keys of the director were on his desk along with his laptop, and he said he was leaving. So I could go on with some of these, but these are concerns that I have, and these are concerns that organizations should have. The market has changed, and with the market changing, I think it's incumbent that we need to change with that, because organizations cannot continually do recruitments. This role, it takes at least a year to be invested in a facility, to learn a facility, and from a recruiting perspective, these types of stories that I've just given you, they don't make me feel good, right? Because neither side benefits from that. So we had done, we had put together a group of core values based on a speech that Vince Patton had given. And Vince, if you don't know him, he's been on our network a couple of times. Vince was the Chief Petty Officer for the United States Coast Guard, and he gave a great speech on core values. And his speech on core values, and I want to tie it into the market today, but his speech on core values really made me think. And so just about 2 years ago now, we put together our core values here at Gosselin Martin Associates, which obviously extends to the Healthcare Facilities Network. And our core values are relationships, which is number one. And if you're watching this, especially if you're a Marquette basketball fan, our Coach Shaka Smart, preaches relationships all the time. And so, just about 2 years ago, before Shaka arrived at Marquette, we were thinking about our core values, and we too came up with relationships because it needs to be fundamental to everything that we do. And so relationships is our first core value, and it's so, so important. The second is passion for this industry. It's part of the reason we created the Healthcare Facilities Network. And the last is authenticity. We need to be good. We need to feel good about what we do and the value we provide. We need to be authentic in everything we do. And so, as we were considering our core values, many of our core values, the relationships, the passion, the authenticity, in some ways the market is going away from that. And as I say all the time, that is not a criticism of people. That's just where we are in 2023. Now we could continue to operate as we always have relative to recruiting and finding people and connecting organizations, and that's good for us, but I will be completely honest, and maybe I'm not the best salesperson here, but that doesn't feel good for what we do. And Jack and I have talked about this, quite a bit, the changing market, which leads me to say we are still doing recruiting, but we want to kind of change that paradigm, and we want to base the recruiting on relationships. We want to base it on working closely with organizations and with candidates. And we think we're able to do it through some of the innovations that we've come up with here through the Healthcare Facilities Network, and that's certainly not the goal of the network. The goal of the network is to promote this opportunity. But in that, I firmly believe organizations have to adjust how they recruit people. And I'm not talking about the succession planning aspect. Obviously, that's important, succession planning. But even within that succession planning, I talked to a guy today, a person today, who was talking about succession planning, and it's a risk that you grow your people and they leave. Well, those are the breaks, right? It's better to grow them and have them move on, than not grow them and have them be, not what you need them to be. So I'm not talking about succession planning, but we want to work with organizations who want to look differently at the recruitment component. We're going to continue to do this Healthcare Facilities Network and all these shows that we're doing because it's a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. We have some good things coming up on the horizon. So many of you have been really receptive when we've reached out for story ideas. So I'm really excited where we're going with this. At Gosselin Martin Associates, we do still do the recruiting, but the old way, it just does not work, frankly. It doesn't work for us. It's not authentic. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't create relationships. It doesn't work for a lot of organizations. Now, this isn't for everybody, obviously, but as a whole, you can get recruiting firms that are going to try to get the same people, but we're here. We are invested. That's why we're here in San Antonio. It's a little bit too hot for this northerner. So I wanted to answer that question because I've heard it a number of different times. And to be honest, I've really enjoyed creating this Healthcare Facilities Network and working with all of you. Find people who have so willingly given of your time. So we are recruiting. We want to work differently with organizations, and we think it benefits everybody. And with that said, we're going to be here tomorrow at the ASHE Annual. We're going to be here Wednesday. If you want to stop by our booth, please do so. We're going to have a lot of great programming coming up throughout the fall, which I am excited about. We're planning for it now. And we'll do an ASHE wrap-up show. We've done that the past couple of years on our High Reliability podcast. We will do it this year for the Healthcare Facilities Network, but it's been, it's been great being here and seeing everybody, and we look forward to the rest of the conference. So I thank you for tuning in, and I leave you with, yes, we are still recruiting. This is Peter Martin from hot San Antonio. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.